We double down on this problem idea by using language like comprehensive immigration reform. There is a massive tendency among advocates to conflate immigration and immigration policy. What do we reform? We reform naughty schoolboys by sending them to special reform schools, right? So when we talk about immigration reform, what we are unconsciously conveying is that immigration is a problem, i.e., the movement of people across borders is a problem. Every time you say immigration when you mean immigration policy, that's what you're doing. When we talk about this, it's not only in reinforcing immigration as a problem, it's not aspirational. It's about eliminating a bad, not creating a good, which is very hard to turn people out for. Legalization. We need legal status. People need legal status. Anything you were hoping to accomplish by undocumented, instantly wiped out. If people need legal status, then, by the way, they're not legal. So I'm not even going to go over this because we have even better things than this. Metaphor. Immigration is war. Guy talked earlier about killing. There's a lot of war metaphor here. From the opposition, this sounds like this: combating, stop the invasion, America's surrender. From you all, you evoke this war metaphor. Of course, you cast the characters differently. You cast them as the victims, right? This such and such a law is targeting immigration. Immigrants are prey to unscrupulous employers. The plight of migrants, we need to be concerned about them. So what does that tell us? When we look at the implications of this metaphor, right? From us, immigrants are victims. The anti-folks are attacking them. So what do you do for victims? Do you employ them? Do you invite them to stay? Do you give them, health care? You feel sorry for them, right? Are they an integral, vital, growing part of your economy and the great, hope of your nation? Not so much. Another really, really prevalent metaphor in this space is the idea of nation as house. This is one of the foundational metaphors that we have in English, and so it's not avoidable. There's a reason why we talk about Mother Russia and the fatherland, and we send our sons and daughters to war. From them, this sounds like people trespassing, locking out, not invited, we're dispensing citizenship like a door prize. From us, we hear it in things like guest workers, which has to be up there as one of the most convoluted. Who has guests at their house to work? And do guests stay? Are guests supposed to be permanent? Some of you have heard this joke so many times, you just ignore me for a second. As my mother likes to say, guests and fish smell after 3 days. I don't know, guest workers is oxymoronic. So again, when we look at what happens in this framework, immigrants are guests. If you're against them, you're inhospitable. What do you do for your guests? You protect them, you give them tea towels, right? But that's it. That's what guests are. Okay, not bending space-time continuum, but have to talk about this because when I saw this language, I just kind of couldn't believe it. I thought it was like the most endless series of typos, but this is advocacy language. We should require them to register, reasonable submission to background checks. They start working toward becoming Americans, right? Oh, the italics are my rewrites on these. Almost every sentence has us in the subject position, we do the verb, and immigrants are in the object. And I know some of us, including myself, are immigrants, so that is a confusing, but you know what I'm saying. Non-immigrants in the subject, immigrants in the object. What does this imply? This implies that immigrants are intractable, unbiteable children that must be corralled into behaving well, right? The water metaphor, right? We know this metaphor. This is what it sounds like from them. This is us. Yes, this is advocacy language. There's a reason why we talk about waves of immigrants. And there's a reason why Anchor Baby is in this debate. It is directly emerging out of this water metaphor. I won't go into how. Advocacy language. In an earnest attempt to create sympathy an understandable attempt to create sympathy, and not empathy, sympathy, for immigrants and the horrible things that are happening to them, which is true and important, we're using language that unconsciously likens immigrants to animals. Round up, lure, net, on the hunt. These are things that we say about animals. By using this metaphor in this way, that is the framework that we're putting immigrants into. Aren't you glad you invited me? Happy New Year! Okay, some fixes. We're going to talk a lot about fixes in 1 minute, so... And I know you're not really able to comprehend this, but that's because I want you to get to the good stuff. So, very sad, right? Lots of problems. Why did we ask her to come here? How do I get out of here? Okay, but now, have somebody who knows what they're doing with a Mac do this for me? Oh. Pretend like you're not seeing that. Okay, where's play? Okay. Oh, thank you. All right, so there's a lot of issues happening in this messaging space, but fortunately, Ryan Clayton, who I will try to channel today, for those of you who know Ryan, that is a very difficult job, brought together an unbelievably dedicated team of folks, including David here, folks from the Opportunity Agenda, America's Voice, and myself, to really look at what is it that we can say about immigrants and immigration that is going to be effective, it's going to be meaningful, it's going to come from our values. There were many, many innovative things about the way that we approach this messaging project. Not least of them was the fact that almost all of the language that you're going to be hearing and seeing today, well, not the opposition, but the pro, actually comes from you. Many of you in this room were among the almost 200 people across the country that we interviewed, mostly Ryan, one-on-one to figure out what is it that you want to say, what is it that you have said, what is it that has worked, what hasn't, and to peel away the talking points that various ones of us, not me, have been trying to cram down your throats so that we could actually expose what it is was meaningful to you. All of these organizations played an integral role in this messaging. These are the words that actually come from you. So like most conversations about immigration, this one begins with Miracle Whip. Does anybody have any idea why? Other than to gross you out? Nobody? Miracle Whip spends 80 to 90% of their advertising budget on what it calls, not ironically, its heavy users. Why would a company spend that much money on people who always buy Miracle Whip, only buy Miracle Whip, are always going to buy Miracle Whip? Crazy, right? It's because they're their brand advocates. They're the people that are going to bake a chocolate cake, yes, such things can be done, if you know people from the South, with Miracle Whip. And they're going to serve it to their friends, and their friends are going to say, wow, this is delicious. What is in here? And the friend is going to say Miracle Whip. And people are going to be like, really? And they are going to go out and they are going to proselytize the gospel of Miracle Whip. Because what Miracle Whip knows, and what many, many companies know, is that the base is the best messenger for the message. And if your words don't spread, then your words do not work. There was a campaign that did this very, very effectively, the Obama in 08 campaign, that used the base to spread the message. Welcome to America. We're a little bit left, and we're a little bit right, with a pretty big persuadable middle. And that is our target audience. The folks on the left, folks like me, it doesn't matter what you tell me. I'm never going to hate gay people. I'm never going to be freaked out about immigrants. I'm never going to think that rich people pay enough taxes. Never, ever, ever. There's nothing that you can say to me that is going to move me. As there are people like me, there are people on the right. It doesn't matter what we say to them. They are going to continue inside of their little hobbit holes, having their little hobbit hole ideas. We shouldn't care about them. We don't need to talk to them. There is no hope for them. What we need to do is engage our base to talk to the persuadable middle. That is our job, to find a message that the base is not just about, but is actually psyched and thrilled and is tripping off our tongues to go and say at every possible moment in order to persuade others. We need our Miracle Whip. The right figured that out a long time ago. The base is the best messenger of the message. That is why we need messages that engage activists, persuade Americans, and alienate the opposition. And I'm going to hammer down on that because that is something that we have never done on the left. Maybe I'm exaggerating. I'm a big fan of exaggerating. We like to play nice. We like everyone to be our friend. We don't like to call people out. We just want to hold hands, right? Maybe I've been living in Berkeley too long. In Berkeley, these are the things that we want. Why do we want to alienate our opposition? Oops, because you're about to see why. We want to alienate our opposition for multiple reasons. First of all, because we need to differentiate ourselves from them. If there is no difference between our product, our message, and theirs, then we're indistinguishable. Second reason, if we actually want to say the things that we believe, as opposed to the things that we've been massaged into believing that our opposition isn't going to jump up and down and scream at us for, then we're not actually saying what we believe. Because we can't and please our opposition. And the third reason is because when you successfully alienate your opposition, they actually get off their talking points and start repeating yours. Can you believe she just said that immigrants are better than Americans? Because I actually kind of think that. Probably because I'm an immigrant. Okay, so what did we do? We created messages and we dial tested them. We dial tested opposition messages and we created advocacy messages. And so the first thing you're going to hear is a very old standard opposition message, and I'm going to tell you what you're seeing on the screen as soon as it's over. It's really important that you be extra quiet during the message so that you can hear it really well. So this is Illegal Aliens and Amnesty. Sure it is.
Illegal aliens broke the law to come here, and we have no business granting them amnesty. All that does is increase the incentive for future illegal immigration. Illegals are lawbreakers and they need to be sent back to where they came from. The last thing we need to do when 15 million Americans are out of work is to give amnesty to millions of illegal aliens who take our jobs, cost American taxpayers, and add to the deficit. They drain our tax dollars by getting government services without paying taxes. They drain our education dollars by requiring that we teach every class in 200 languages. They drain our health care dollars by filling up our emergency rooms, and they demand rights as if illegals have the right to demand anything. I'm tired of spending my tax dollars on services for lawbreakers who slipped across our borders illegally and don't belong here. We have to restore the rule of law, and that means stopping illegals before they cross the border and deporting those who are already here. Good fences make good neighbors, and it's time we built ourselves a good long
fence. For some reason that one cuts off. Okay, so what you're seeing here is a representative sample of just over 1,100 people. And the red line is, of course, the opposition, the people who attitudinally at the beginning of the survey were not into immigrants or immigration. And what you're seeing over there on the left is the base, the people who are with us to begin with, people who are persuadable, and then the shifters, the yellow line, is a subset of the persuadables who moved at least 15 points from the questions we asked them at the beginning to how they felt at the end. Okay? So yellow line is a subset of the green line. What is the orange line? In addition to testing this with a representative sample of Americans, we also gave these dial tests to advocates, to folks like you. Some of you might have even taken this dial. So this is not, the advocate line is not part of the sample. So what do we notice about this? The advocates don't like it.